Welcome back to another video, just a very quick one today. We have a brand new Dragon Ball commercial from Toshiba featuring Goku and Vegeta duking things out, literally continuing from right where Super left off. So, you know, if you were looking for some sort of continuation for Super's ending, then this could be it. This commercial is surprisingly very good, which is a real breath of fresh air considering most of the modern day Dragon Ball commercials aren't very good at all. Let's go through a few of them just for the sake of context. We've had TAKEO Idei's ramen commercial, which saw our Super Chief Supervisor animating Vegeta beating up some vegetables, which I'm fairly sure is some sort of treason. It had some okay effects and rudimentary movement, but I personally have a really strong dislike of his bulbous, very shiny looking character art. Putting that aside, the point is that it's really nothing particularly interesting. We've had a KFC commercial from TADAYOSHI YAMAMURO that was literally just characters running on the spot before Goku held up a drumstick. Very much a bottom of the bucket, rushed out nothing piece for the sake of promoting the food next to Battle of Gods release. More recently, we had YOICHI ONISHI underneath TAKEO Idei's supervision, animating a cleaning commercial that was really just a series of stills. Again, mostly along the same lines of the others, very limited and very much nothing. That is essentially the standard for a lot of Dragon Ball commercials these days, so this is a nice change of pace, and when you hear who it's from, it will make a lot of sense. This comes from Ken OTSUKA, which really surprised me considering I've never heard of him doing commercials before. In fact, when I was trying to work out who animated this thing, I sat there considering OTSUKA for quite a while before losing confidence because I just felt like it wasn't his thing and was more likely to be someone like Atsushi Nikaido. Thankfully, someone in my Discord server also thought it might be OTSUKA, which gave me that boost of confidence to actually ask him on Twitter, and thank God for that because he replied back almost instantly confirming it was his work. So let's take a look at things. I think the most obvious thing to take note here is that although OTSUKA is the key animator, it's clear that TADAYOSHI YAMAMURO is supervising. This is all playing very much into the reason I was given for him stepping away from the Super movie. He wanted to focus on content related to the Dragon Ball brand, which as we've seen has so far meant things like the Heroes commercials and designs, promo art, the Heroes anime, and now a commercial. I'm quite interested to see what his role will be in the future, whether he continues to wind down, focusing on these smaller projects, or if he possibly pops up on a future TV series, Dragon Ball or otherwise. I have to say, it's kind of surreal to see this happen. I ended my Super Supervisors video on him saying, "This is now Dragon Ball, and with Yamamuro being the face of the series next to Toriyama, it doesn't seem like that's going to change anytime soon." And within a year of me making that video, that has now totally changed. We have now Hiro Shintani paraded around at every opportunity, plastered up the side of buildings on the other side of the world. Yamamuro's corrections here for the most part seem pretty solid, as polished as you'd probably expect from him at this point. The thing is, OTSUKA is very good at drawing Dragon Ball anyway, so I don't think he had to change much on the whole, other than maybe bringing OTSUKA's more old school traits in line with the modern designs. For example, the final shot of Vegeta in this commercial doesn't actually appear to have been corrected, and you can see the arched eyes, large forehead, and thick muscles that are pretty distinctly different from the way he's drawn within the actual corrected sections. OTSUKA's uncorrected Vegeta from Dragon Ball Super Episode 120 was similarly old school, and this just feels like a natural evolution of that, albeit with some modern shading and colours. As a result, you'll see the odd shot here that mixes the two. For example, this scene of Goku that's largely corrected by Yamamuro, but it still has the old school indented cheek shading left from OTSUKA. Let's talk about the animation then. Things kick off with a flurry of punches and kicks, and this is fairly in line with what we saw from OTSUKA's contribution on episode 39 of Super. He does this thing in the close-ups where he holds the kick for several frames, animating the line work, which is kind of an attempt to convey the sort of double kick you see in that long shot. It's not too dissimilar from what Kazuya Hisada's approach was on Z, although Hisada tended to convey the speed through distinct smears rather than just line work and texture. What's cool is that each attack is laden with really intense effects work, and this is abundantly clear in the long shot, which, aside from the entire composition being encased in OTSUKA's delicious smoke, is also underpinned by huge sweeping effects across the entire landscape. This is really smart. Oftentimes you can lose the scale of a battle in an extreme long shot like this because there's really only so much impact you can convey from afar. By having these colossal impact effects spread across the entire screen, you force the battle to feel bigger, and that's really worked out here. The highlight of this commercial is where Goku and Vegeta come to a standstill, and Vegeta launches into his final flash. Not only do we get this neat little animated zoom out under the arms, but it heads into a nice impact frame before Otsuka goes crazy with his effects as these blade-shaped lightning bolts fill the screen. This causes the best part, the effects porn explosion. It is frustratingly short, but the detail packed in here is really impressive. From the effects billowing in the center of the dome to the lightning bolts erupting out of the sides, all tweened to fluid perfection, this is just great. It finishes with Goku swiping through the smoke, filled with character, and that is the commercial done and dusted. Considering the quality of all of the commercials outlined earlier, you can see why I felt like it was kind of worth covering this one today. Although certainly not wild in the grand scheme of things, for a Dragon Ball commercial in the modern era, this was really nice to see. The only thing I can think of that comes close, if not exceeds it, is Yoichi Kurosawa's Dragon Ball Scratch commercial. It is heavily corrected by Yamamuro, but you can see Kurosawa's awesome line work, and of course his unmissable, unmistakable, ultra-realistic hands that we all fell in love with during his time on Dragon Ball Super. I'm very curious to see how long it takes for the new movie aesthetic to start making its way into promotional material. I think it makes sense to stick with what we have for now because they very clearly want this movie to be a big landmark, and if they started busting out things like adverts and heroes with that new aesthetic, they'd lose a lot of that much desired wow factor. But that is it for today, just a short one like I said. Let me know what you thought of the commercials showcased today. Were there any that stood out to you for better or worse? And as always, be sure to rate this video, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you next time.